You have spoken about the downside of a globalized economy, referring to it during the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony in Oslo as, quote, a dangerous free-for-all highway whose lanes will be taken over by the giant trucks from powerful economies, even as Bangladeshi rickshaws will be thrown off the highway, end quote. I'm assuming you're referring to the one-dimensional profit motive of these giant trucks that focus more on money than on social good. But how do you think a scenario could realistically be averted, a global scenario? And in fact, isn't that somewhat desirable?
I was giving an image that globalization is like a multi-lane highway. All the products are moving back and forth in many directions, and everybody on the road carrying their merchandise, and giving the idea that big countries, big economies, rich economies will have more merchandise to carry, big trucks to carry, and are very powerful and take over the lanes. And the small countries don't have space for themselves because it's all taken over by the big trucks and the big companies. So I said, if that image fits into the picture, then we should have traffic rules so that little company and the little country, little economy have their safe lanes where they're slow moving, they carry little thing and very fragile, but they move safely so that the big trucks don't take over everything. And I'm saying that if we accept the traffic rules idea, then we'll need traffic police so that these rules are obeyed. And the idea is to have a traffic authority. So that somebody has to say, this is the rules of globalization. That if you are a big company, you cannot come to a weak economy and say, I take over the whole economy. They can because they have the money power. So that will be wrong globalization. In globalization, both sides must be the winner. And whatever gain in the trade takes place, it will be shared equitably. Just because I have the power, I take out of 100, I take 99.9 and give you 0.1% and say this is globalization. I don't think that will be tenable, that will be sustainable. So we have to agree how much you should get and how much I should get, although I could have taken over everything, but by agreed principles, we don't do that. We give you some and we keep some. And what that participation would be, how division would be, that would be the traffic police or the traffic authority will decide that this is how we should do that. Otherwise, globalization will become, I suggested, that will be an economic imperialism, that big economies taken over the small economies.
Well, one effect we see of globalization right now is what's happening in the world banking industry. And why I find that very interesting is because if you were to look at Grameen's own borrowers, they are not just the subprime or are considered subprime, but even the sub-subprime. In spite of that, Grameen's repayment rates are 99% or so, and you have never required a bailout. From that perspective, I wonder how you see this global banking crisis, and what advice would you give to the CEOs of institutions like Citibank or Bank of America about what they could do to salvage their operations?
It's a paradoxical situation right now, because back 33 years back when I was trying to start this program in a tiny village with a few people and arguing with the bankers that this would be a good idea to give loans to the poor people, their argument was that the poor people are not creditworthy. They will never pay back and so on. So today, 33 years later, you can ask the same question, who is creditworthy? The answer obviously will be very different, because it's the poor who turned out to be the better creditworthy than the other category of people. Because the programs, microcredit programs all over the world still function very well. Still their repayment is very high. Whereas the big banks and their big lending operations are in a situation of collapse. It's falling down. With this experience, kind of contradictory experience that we have, now we have no other way but to redesign the whole system, recognizing the fact, the strength in this non-collateralized loans for the poor people and the weakness in the collateralized loan for the rich people. So we have to find a ground where we can have an inclusive financial system where nobody will be thrown out of the system. not the poorest person, not the homeless person or a beggar person. Nobody should be thrown out. They can handle. They have already shown examples, and created a long-term record that what they have done. So this is one lesson from this, to redesign the financial system. Another point I would like to make that this global crisis, financial crisis, is worst in our lifetime, and when the whole world is going through it. While we look at the crisis part of it, we forget this is also the greatest opportunity. When the system is not working, that's the time you unpack it and redesign it, so that not only it works better than ever before. Unless we do that, we'll be committing a big mistake. So I emphasize on the opportunity part of it. While the crisis will take its time, it take its course to get through it, but we should be focusing attention and then start redesigning piece by piece where it needs to be fixed, so that we don't have the same old system that we had before.
What qualities does one need to lead a microfinance institution, and how are these different from the qualities needed for another type of organization?
One idea I was just mentioning, that we came from the direction where we wanted to bring financial services to the poor people to help them generate income for themselves and gradually move out of poverty by doing that. Build confidence, build experience, and step by step take care of themselves and see that they can move on and get out of poverty. So we would like to keep microcredit in that fashion, in that mood, not profit maximization mode, because then you are not looking at people's condition, you are looking at your own condition. So you want to take out as much as possible to improve your financial strength and so on. So that is, I think, number one requirement for microcredit, that you have the right kind of attitude and right kind of mood when you get involved with it. That here I have come to use my talent, my creativity, my management skill to help people get out of poverty without losing money. Losing money pushes you into another direction. It becomes it pushes itself into the charitable kind of programs. Microcredit is not a charity program. Microcredit is a business program, but business with a social purpose. And in a separate way, I've called it a social business and defined it in very clear terms what a social business is like. So ideally, I would like microcredit to be a social business where profit is zero for the person who has invested. But the company can make profit. Profit stays with the company with the social objective. In this case, the social objective will be to help people get out of poverty.
But in terms of individual leadership skills or organizational skills, how do you nurture these within individuals in, say, Grameen Bank?
Within Grameen Bank, we just recruit people and let them learn by doing as apprentices with other older persons in the branches. So it's not a classroom training which makes all the difference. Classroom training is a very small part of our training. We simply introduce what we do and then let them figure out how it is done and so on. When they join Grameen Bank, for them, it's just a job. They are looking for a job. Not many jobs are available. They got the job. They're very happy they got the job. They think now on, I work and I get my salary. So the intention of helping poor and all those things was not part of that job. But once you start working with the poor people and get to know the system, get to know the objectives of the system, and gradually you are taken by it. And more you feel inspired by it. And all these ideas that, yes, my work helps people, excites them. It's a wonderful experience to be able to touch other people's life. It's almost intoxicating experience. Once you have it, you cannot get away from it. You want to have it more because you see things are happening in people's lives. Their children going to school, the kid, you saw a little kid running around in the village. Now you see he or she is in school and doing very well and talking about what she wants to be, what he wants to be. And you remember your own childhood, that how you went through and how difficult it was for you. Now these kids are lucky kids. They could have been, they are in school. And some of the older students are now going to higher education. and Grameen Bank gives them education loans, and you say, oh, nobody gave me an education loan, and my education finished. After high school, I couldn't proceed any further. Only job I could get is this one. But I'm happy, through my job, I'm helping other kids to go to higher education, becoming doctors, engineers, and university professors, and so on and so forth. And that excites them, that yes, my service is useful.